The stories we carry in our daily lives help make a community. It's in our memories, our legacy, and even in the future of the values and strengths we hope to pass on. At the St. John Homecoming Hall and Museum, we are in the process of telling those stories, our histories, our people. This is our life. Here in Stafford County, we take pride in the businesses that have been passed on from generation to generation. The Minnis Funeral Home is one of the longest running family-operated businesses in Kansas.
And we have the 5th generation in Mitch's son, Ryan, who is in Ellenwood. Now, Jim had already died when Ryan, the youngest one, he was probably in junior high. And when he was contemplating becoming a funeral director, he came to me and he said, "Grandma, I just wish I could talk to Grandpa Jim and learn more about this." And I said, "Ryan, I probably could tell you what your grandpa would tell you. Do not become a mortician because of the family legacy. That's a pretty big calling." He said, "It's a calling. Being a funeral director, mortician is a calling. It's a very gratifying profession, but it has its very hard places. And you need to be prepared to take care of family members as you would want your mother taken care of, or the deceased family, you'd want the families taken care of. And if you will do that with kindness in your heart, you will probably always be needed in a community."
Some of our most generous benefactor stories we tell may be familiar, but with a different twist.
I'm Diane Getty. I am Ernest Nathan and Alice Marie Waters' daughter. I am related. Ida Long Goodman was my grandmother's sister. The only thing I remember about her, she always drove a weird-looking car. It was a Buick something. And we could see her as kids would be at my grandparents', and we'd see that car coming, and we'd take off with the trees and go hide, because she just never had any children. She was kind of a teacher-like person, but she never had children. And her idea of children was to sit there, behave, and be quiet. And in her world, when we had a meal together, the adults were supposed to be served first, and then the children after. My grandmother would not have it.
And some of the stories are wrapped into traditions woven into our DNA.
We had our first Victorian tea in the basement of the library, and the theme was Christmas trees, wasn't it?
Yes, Christmas.
And it was by donation. Well, we didn't come out very well with that. So after that, we were able to have the teas at the Wit Center.
And then we were able to do it in the Tudor building because of the museum and what was happening here. And it was a joy because we had so much more room. And we started out with, 1 or 2 seatings, Anna? And it grew to 3, and then it went to 2 again.
And then we started charging after the first year that we didn't do well. And we got up to $15 a ticket towards the end. I can't remember where we started, but we always had other events to go with it. It wasn't just the tea.
What caused it to stop?
That is a good question.
We know the answer. Some of us got a little too mature to do it all. Some of us moved away.
Some went on to their heavenly home.
Yeah, that too.
That was very instrumental in doing this.
Yeah. So we finally, and our younger girls were busy working and didn't have the time. They'd help us when they could, but to do all the planning and all the things that entail, why, we finally had to give up.
We love our town's characters long after they have left us. Mr. St. John was Roy Taylor, who tootled around town on a 3-wheel bicycle. It's the same streets his grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren still daily navigate. One of the things about small towns is that most everybody knows who you are. Most of the time, we like our neighbors, even those who know our business long before we do. It's a sign we watch out for one another.
I always had students say, "Oh, everybody knows your business." And I said, well, just think of it as they care. Thank you for being a small enough community that we do know each other and we care about each other and we take care of each other. Thank you for providing great education and opportunities that children in a larger school do not have. Because if you are a student at St. John, you can be involved in anything you want to be involved in.
But for some of us, it hasn't always been easy. There have been struggles. Not everyone started out on even footing, but we stay. We get the understanding of how things are done, and we stay because this is now home. This is where our roots dig deep into the sandy soil.
Yeah, I think that was my problem going from school to school to school to school. Because at the time I was really the only Mexican. When I went to school, I didn't know any English. And when I went to school, it was like, you see the Charlie Brown, wah, 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 you know. I would hide in the closet because I didn't want to go. You know, at school, I'd go to school, but I'd hide because I didn't know what they were talking about, and they didn't know what I was saying. And I had one lovely kindergarten teacher that took me aside. She taught me English, and up until 1967, my daughter was born. We kept in contact, and she sent my daughter a beautiful gift. And my dad, when he noticed how hard it was, he told my mom that we were going to speak nothing but English in the household.
The overriding story is that we endure, we persist, we carry faith with us.
Yeah, my name is David Robinson. My family arrived basically in 1875 along with William Bickerton. There were 35 families that arrived at that time. And he wished to come here to set up a community which would reflect the idealism of the church in the days of Christ. In other words, they wished to hearken back to the purity of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And their second objective was to be close to Oklahoma, and because they wished to be involved in missionary work among the indigenous peoples of America. My grandmother, great-great-grandmother, her name was Jane Glacken, and she was a midwife, and she was the closest thing they had to a doctor during those early years. So she took care of all of the needs of the community. And she also, particularly, she was a midwife, but she's more than that. She brought along with her, apparently, a lot of the old knowledge, of herbs and natural cures and all of these things. And so she apparently knew a lot, and she was good. But she brought, was there at the birth of children, all the children that came in, that were born here, and as well as those who were black.
Exodusters, often poor black farmers from the South, were drawn to Kansas in part by its free state reputation. Nearly 30 black families claimed land in Stafford County. By the 1900s, it's estimated that there were as many as 400 African Americans living in Stafford County. The county's population then was about 9,000 residents. In the fall of 2021, nearly a dozen of those descendants returned to St. John. And that is what prompted our mission at the St. John Homecoming Hall and Museum. We hope to tell the stories of all cultures who have lived in Stafford County, from Native Americans, Hispanics, Exodusters, Euro-Americans, and more. We hope to tell your stories through an ongoing series of videos and events, and we hope you will join us.